Hello, ghouls and ghosts, and welcome to the Scary Story Corner, where I, your host, Sweethart, will read scary stories for your enjoyment. Now please, find your seats, get comfortable, and try not to get too scared. My girlfriend moved out about 3 weeks ago. The cat, Rook, was really close to her, and now that she was gone, I can tell he's a bit lonely, especially when I'm at work. I came home a few times to my curtains ripped up, or the toilet paper in shreds. The last straw was when I came home after working late to find that he had clawed a hole the size of a dinner plate into the side of the sofa. I decided I had to do something. I tried different toys, even catnip, but nothing worked. One night, while browsing Amazon, I saw a pet camera. It's a tiny camera that records your pet and a live feed so you can monitor their behavior while you're away. It even has an audio function so you can talk to them. It sounded silly, but hey, I love my furry dude, so I bought it. I got overnight shipping and installed it immediately. I decided to set it up in my bedroom, as that's where Rook dwelled most. My first day at work, I think I checked that camera 30 times. When I spoke into the microphone, Rook seemed happier, and I noticed there was no distraction around the house either. By day 4, I figured I'd solve the problem with Rook. That leads me to where I'm at right now. About 30 minutes ago, I climbed in bed with Rook, ready to close my eyes, when my phone buzzed. A notification from the pet cam? I almost ignored it. Sure, I'd just triggered the thing, but I opened it anyways. What I saw made my grip tighten on the phone. Instead of a video of myself in bed, I saw a man, tall, gangly, with pale white skin and large eyes. He was moving into my room with exaggerated steps, like a sneaking cartoon character. He got right up to the lens, so close I could almost smell his rotten breath. And he smiled. I immediately paused the video, terrified. I looked at that spot where the man should have been standing. There was no one there. I went onto Amazon and found the pet cam and read the reviews, hoping for some weird glitch. It had to be a joke, right? The first dozen reviews were pretty standard, but it was the last that caused me to bolt upright. The customer complained that the camera was only on a time delay and sometimes as much as 15 minutes. I went back to the video and pressed play with shaking fingers. I watched the horror as the man slithered under my bed, giving the camera a wink before disappearing into the darkness. Then I saw myself enter the room, climb in bed, and the video ended. Now I'm sitting in my bed, knowing he's under it. I could call the police, but I doubt I'd have time. So please, do yourself a favor and read the reviews. I was 5 years old when the Lullaby Lady took my baby brother. It was late. My mom was passed out on the couch. She didn't wake up when Joey started crying. She didn't wake up when I went out and shook her either. She just laid there, head tipped back, mouth gaped open. It was pretty normal. When I went back into our room, Joey was red-faced and screaming in his crib. I reached through the rails and stuck a pacifier in his mouth, hoping it would keep him quiet until morning. But he immediately spit it out and started screaming again. "Come on, Joey," I whispered. "Please stop crying." I stood there for a minute or two, unsure of what to do for him. Eventually, I went back into my own bed and laid down with a pillow over my ear. "Please stop crying. Please stop crying. Please stop crying," I repeated over and over again. I think I must have dozed off after a while. The next thing I remember was a lullaby. Hush, my darling, please don't weep. Close your eyes and fall asleep. Darling, you safe with me. Rest easy now, you're mine to keep. I remember it being so soothing. The voice was a low and hushed one. Even though it was unlike my mother's high, brash voice, I still assumed it was her. I never heard her sing before, but I hoped that maybe this was the day she was turning around. Maybe this was the day she would start taking care of us. The next morning, I woke up and Joey wasn't in his crib. I tiptoed into my mom's room, expecting him to be laying in bed next to her, but the room was empty. I heard the sound of the TV coming from the living room and found my mother passed out on the couch. When I poked at her, she woke up. "Mom," I said, "there's Joey." When the police arrived, I had to answer a lot of questions about Mom and Joey. The police took my mom away in handcuffs, and a county worker came and brought me to a foster home. They never found Joey, and I never went back home. A few years later, a new kid came into my foster home. He was around 6 or 7. I overheard his caseworker telling his foster mom that his mom was an addict just like mine, and he'd had a little sister who'd gone missing. When we were getting ready for bed later, I asked him what happened. "The Lullaby Lady took me sister," he said, looking sadly at the floor. "The Lullaby Lady?" I asked. "Mm-hmm," he nodded. "A ghost lady. My sister was crying, so she sang him a lullaby, and they disappeared." My heart started racing as he started singing a familiar melody in his small, quiet voice. "Darling, you are safe with me. Rest easy now, you're mine to keep." Freddie wasn't your typical 13-year-old child. He was an asshole. If he wasn't in his bedroom, screaming at video games, he was scaring his 7-year-old sister Amy. Every traumatizing prank he pulled on little Amy would only be worse than the last. Once, he had even told her that their mother had been murdered and covered the kitchen floor with ketchup for maximum effect. It was the reason she was so unstable. She would often tell her mother that she had heard whispers or even saw ghosts wandering the house at night. Freddie would giggle at that, was proud of the damage he had done. But unfortunately for Amy, it was never enough for him. He felt compelled to break her. Completely. The storm had kept Freddie awake that night. Restlessly, he tossed and turned in boredom. For a while he tried to count sheep, but even that didn't help. In defeat, he laid mindlessly watching the raindrops fly down his window. Lightning flashed suddenly, illuminating his entire room. It was soon followed by a deafening boom. Freddie smiled. He knew what was then to come. Freddie heard his sister crying through the wall, closely followed by the faint pitter-patter as she ran into their mother's bedroom. This was it, his moment for fun. He crept down the hallway and into Amy's bedroom. He prowled around the room like a serial killer, studying every inch of it. Countless ideas rushed through his mind. Then he saw the closet. Freddie waited in the dark for what seemed like forever, peering through the small gap between the closet doors. He decided that when his sister returned and settled into bed, he would begin to whisper. Then, once she was completely terrified, he would burst out and run at her, screaming at the top of his lungs. He had almost lost hope and was about to leave when he heard the footsteps approaching. His mother opened the bedroom door and Amy slowly shuffled in. She was sucking her thumb and dragging her favorite blanket behind her. As she crawled into bed, Freddie couldn't help but grin with excitement. Freddie watched in silence as their mother tucked Amy tightly into bed, planted a big kiss on her forehead, and finally said goodnight. He waited anxiously until he heard his mother's door close before beginning. This is it, he thought, shaking in delirium. The moment I break her. Amy, Freddy whispered hauntingly. She didn't respond. Amy, he continued. Still no response. I'm in the closet, Amy. Come play with me, he harshly croaked. Not tonight, Lucy, Amy calmly replied. Freddy frowned in confusion. She must be sleep-talking, he thought. Wake up, Amy. It's not. A hand reached out from behind him and pulled Freddy back into the darkness of the closet, clutching over his mouth in a cold, tight grip. She said not tonight. Thank you for coming to the Scary Story Corner. I hope everyone's not too scared to go home. Be careful and stay safe. You never know what's lying in the night.